Well, welcome to the Savage Rap. I know many of you got the times wrong, but I didn't. 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. I've got people from Staten Island to San Bruno saying we look forward to this every day. It's not going to be every day. It's going to be the days I feel like doing it. And today is a day I feel like doing it. I did it last Friday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Didn't do it yesterday. Um, Today I feel like doing it. It's a Friday wrap. I want to wrap things up. And what we've done for you is, as you know, I have 2 podcasts a week, found wherever podcasts are found. We're going to take the best parts of the wraps of the week and make them into the Friday wrap up of the wraps, which we did today. And we'll see how the numbers are. If the numbers are good, equal, or higher, we'll continue. It's up to you. And I thank you for being here on the Michael Savage wrap. My head is all over the place today. And I can tell you why. We live in a time that's extremely difficult for all of us who see what's going on. The country has been taken over by a criminal gang. There's no question about it. If you can't see what Biden is by now, then you're blind, deaf, dumb, and a criminal yourself. But I can't do anything about it. I'm merely a retired podcaster, let's put it to you that way. I rose to the top of my careers. Every career I ever touched, I rose to the top through very hard work, through grit, through great parents, from being taught that work is sacred, the work ethic. You ever hear of the work ethic anymore? Now it's the welfare ethic. These bums, they bring them over the border by the carload, by the train load, by the plane load. And these bums sit in a hotel room drinking booze paid for by me out of my taxes. I would deport all 5 million of those that Biden brought in for taxation. For votes. All he brought them in for was votes. That's it. What did he bring them for? We were told that we need immigrants to work. Sure. I see the hardworking immigrants, but the hardworking immigrants I see don't want this crew that Biden brought in who are bums and deadbeats and parasites living on the public dole. Welcome to the program. I don't even know if I'm going to talk about that today. It's funny. It's a Friday. Make believe it's the old radio days. There'd be music. That's about it right now. No other difference. There would be me talking to you. It would just be music. That's all it would be. And then it would be me live and naked before you on the Savage Rap. Same time that I began a radio. Interesting to me. I hope everything's coming in okay. We're doing this straight on YouTube now. In the last few times we did it on a new system, Restream, and it went up live on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook instantly. But we decided to just do it straight on YouTube now, and we'll post it to Twitter later and Facebook later. We get a cleaner picture when it's only running off one channel. See, the more streams that you run, the weaker the image and the weaker the sound. So we'll go clean out YouTube, run it off YouTube. So it's like one of those weird days. It's like a July day, mid-July, and I'm thinking back on my life as I usually do. I've been thinking back on my life since I've been thinking. That's an odd part. I'm one of those introspective, extroverted people. Introvert, extrovert. Thinking back on my life since I'm a kid, analyzing what am I doing, where am I going. You know, this is what people do who have a brain, who are not drugged out of their minds. And I look and I can't believe it. You have a hearing the other day with two people who risked their lives to come forth from the IRS, and they're roundly condemned by the vermin, filth, garbage, degenerate perverts in the media. These are the bravest people in America. And we got a stumbling guy in the White House, and you see it most when he walks away from the reporters who ask him questions. The shuffle of the old, decrepit human being. Everyone can see this. The king has no clothes except to Anderson Cooper, a degenerate bum. Two-faced degenerate filth. And I pick on Anderson Cooper on purpose because he epitomizes everything wrong with this country's media today. That snotty look on his face. I don't care about him and his husband and the child. To me, it's child abuse. How's that? How do you like that? Two men stooping in a house with a baby is child abuse to me. How do you like that? That's the world I come from. I come from another world. I agree. I'm not living in this world. I'm from another world. So I was looking through some things today. And then, wait a minute. Worse than Anderson Cooper is the sick, degenerate Levine, Admiral Levine, yes, sir, dressed as a woman admiral, a grown Jewish man dressed as a woman admiral, crossing his legs with nylons on and lipstick and makeup and pretending he's a woman. He's not a woman. He's a man dressed up as a woman. It's called a transvestite. It's been around since ancient times, but it was never normalized in any society. No, never normalized because the society can't go on. It's a form of suicide. Suicide. Biden is committing a suicide on America. He's killing the country on purpose. So I analyzed this to myself today. Just thinking, always thinking. He used to say to me as a kid, you think too much, Michael. What do you mean? How can you think too much? Either you think or you don't think. Either you think or you don't think. So I thought about why would an administration bring in criminals, bring in deviants, bring in violent minority activists, permit violent street thugs like Antifa? Why? And it came to me why. And I tweeted this: criminal, corrupt regimes like Joseph Biden's are the most tolerant of deviants, minority activists, and violent street thugs because they are the most vocal and could publicly threaten their rule. You understand why a guy like Soros gave away hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars to the street thugs and the deviant groups? Because he knew how he made his fortune. And he didn't want them outside his building. So he diverted them. That's how this works. Mentally ill Admiral Levine makes a mockery of medicine and science. Where are the rabbis standing up and saying, Levine, I used to hear when I was a kid as a Jewish person, how do you think you get formed? My mother would look at the headlines in the Daily News in New York, and she would always say, look at this person. If she'd see a Jewish person who committed a crime, she would say they're the worst, they're no good, don't ever be like that. It was always about the ethnic class that you were in, and your mother and your father taught you not to be like the bad ones, be like the good ones. So we looked up to Einstein, Jonas Salk. They were our heroes. Now look what we have now. Take a look at this. A deranged man belongs in a mental hospital. Transgender Rachel Levine claims children face wrong puberty. This man is mentally ill by all definition. He needs to be locked up and put into a mental hospital. Transgender Rachel Levine claims children face wrong puberty. He's judging now that children are facing a wrong puberty. He's the self-described transgender assistant secretary at the Department of Health and Human Services. Yes, sir, Admiral Levine. Yes, sir, Admiral Levine. What if you're going through the wrong puberty, says this demented, sick pervert. The ABC Nightline series, Identity Denied Trans in America. ABC, another pile of trash. Look at this. Look at this. Now, I say don't hurt the man. Don't get me wrong. He's sick. He needs treatment. He's the one who needs treatment, not America. They put him in charge of HHS, one subdivision. Wrong puberty, and you want to cut off a man's schlong? And you want to inject people with drugs, you sick Frankenstein bastard, you? Gender-affirming care, you're Dr. Mengele to me. Admiral Levine is like Mengele to me. He says gender-affirming care is mental health care. It is literally suicide prevention care. The opposite is true. Admiral Rachel Levine is a pediatrician and the highest-ranking openly transgender federal official in the country. Wow. Hallelujah, man. Children are too young to know about these things. They don't understand things. The brain isn't fully developed till age 20-something odd. This degenerate piece of crap should know this, Dr. Levine. He should be stripped of his medical license and put into a mental hospital. Biden administration official went on to assert in the interview that gender-affirming care is medical care, mental health care. Gender-affirming care is literally suicide prevention care. The opposite is true. It's unbelievable to me. This is the expert that parents are supposed to trust, this sick piece of garbage? The man's mentally ill. Look at him sitting with his legs crossed, fingernails done with the lipstick and the fingernail polish and nylons. freak. Ringling brothers. Telling a child that they're born in the wrong body will destroy their mental health forever. This is child abuse. The parents who go along with this should be put in prison. The child should be taken away and put into real therapy. This is a crime against humanity. So that's all I wanted to say today about that. Well, that's one man's opinion. Is it a crime? Is this a crime? Let me ask you, is that a crime for me to say what I think? Why would Biden, of all the great doctors in this country, Trump picked great doctors, by the way. He picked a real pediatrician, the African-American great doctor who was roundly laughed at and abused by the vermin in the media. Pediatric neurosurgeon. You probably forgot his name. You don't know his name, do you? Anyone remember his name? The great African-American pediatrician that Donald Trump knew and we knew. Anyone remember him? But no, you know Dr. Levine, don't you? Anyone know his name? Dr. Carlson. Remember him? He is a pediatric neurosurgeon, which is about as difficult. It's the most difficult kind of surgery that can be performed amongst them. Ben Carson, thank you. Ben Carson, thanks, Ellen. Ben Carson. Roundly picked on and attacked by the vermin, degenerate, scum, drug addicts in the media. Vermin, degenerate, scum, drug addicts in the media. Picked on Ben Carson, and this piece of shite is glorified in our country today. Well, I've said enough on this. I just can't do it anymore. I wasn't raised this way. Let's put it to you that way. I didn't go for burlesque shows in the first grade. No one came in dressed as a woman. Oh, yeah, they did it. I understand that. It was a burlesque show. Cross-dressers were there. People went to it. They enjoyed it. But they didn't run the Health and Human Services. Then they didn't lecture you on medicine for children. Do you understand you're living in an upside-down, sick world? You have a criminal president, caught dead to rights, came out in the hearings, checks cashed, money given, the son, and nothing happens. Why? ABC, CBS, all of them, all the alphabet channels and the cable channels are not far behind. They're all bought and sold for too. Are you joking? Do you actually think the cable channels are free of this kind of influence? You are mistaken if you think so. I almost gave out my phone number, but I'm not going to give out my personal phone number. So I began the show today. You could see this could go on for quite a while. I'm going to break it up into probably 2 or 3 parts. I'm going to say at 15 minutes, this is part 1, because we're only going to post part 1 today. Guess what we found out? People's attention span is so short in this day and age. 8-9 minutes is it. Max. That's the exact truth. Now, maybe you could listen for hours. They can't. When I was in the radio business, I had the longest TSL of anyone in the history of radio. Time spent listening. That's how we got around all the censorship and the blockages. I mean, I was canceled a long time ago. Everywhere I turned, the ad agencies canceled me from the beginning. So I came up with this mask, which was given to me years ago. As you all know what this is, the Thespians. And I remember as a child, I told you about this. My mom bought me a pair of cufflinks for, we wore shirts that used cufflinks in those days. And I don't know how, but she gave me a pair of them. I probably still have them somewhere. It's funny what it is. And they were Thespian cufflinks, happy and sad face. Sad, happy, happy, sad, sad, happy. And somehow it struck a chord in me, because I realized that I sometimes I'm happy, sometimes I'm sad. I'm not a consistent human being. Like, I once saw a guy on a bus many years ago. I do almost remember to the day. My friend, I won't even mention his name. I think he's still living, one of the few still around. The one whose mother beat him with a dog chain. You may remember him. Came home and the father. Remember that story? I'm into a story time today. And I looked at the books I wrote about my childhood stories. So it began with psychological nudity. That was the first iteration of my childhood stories. Fat Al and the tuna and all of that. Oh, what great stories. Some of them are classic. Fat Al's tuna. Everyone asks for them. Flying the Tuna, story of savage father standing up for him. Tough high school geometry teacher, 2 fingers in his right hand. The others were blown off. He was a member of the IRA in Ireland. Happy and sad cufflinks. Oh, here it is. Oh, I found it. Like a child, I am happy. Let me just read this. Fat Pat and Tippy the dog. That leads me to another story. Fat Pat and Tippy the dog. When I was a boy, my parents moved us from our Bronx apartment to live in a small row house in Queens, New York. At that time, they got me a dog named Tippy. Tippy the dog was a ferocious part chow who, when I was 11, ripped my foot open. I'm not talking about a scratch. I'm talking about a foot ripped down to the bone. They rushed me to the hospital, Monticello Hospital. I remember it to this day, and they stitched up my foot. I still love Tippy the dog, even though the doctor was trying to get us to take him to the pound to be gassed. Now, I did it. This is an interesting story. I'll talk to you about justice. My father was working. He used to work 7 days a week, and we were in the country in a rented cottage, a bungalow in Spring Glen, New York. A little rented thing with a little teeny kitchen. I loved it. They were paradise days for me. Everyone knew everyone. You could walk in and out of your friend's house or rented a thing, and there was a river or a creek. Oh, was it beautiful. We would hike all the time. That's where the guy lived, Woodchuck Bill. He was like a bohemian who lived there with his wife in an out barn, and he hunted woodchucks, and we all loved him. So let me get back to Tippy the dog. The dog rips my leg open. They rush me to the hospital. My father's at work in Manhattan, sweating his ass off to make a living so we could live. He worked, we lived. He worked, we lived. My mother worked very hard as a homemaker. That's what she did. Kept a beautiful home, took care of us kids, made sure we did our homework. Did you do your homework, Michael? Homework. Not allowed now because the minorities, I guess, don't have mothers around to tell them to do their homework. So everyone now has to come down to their level. You hear this? Racing to the bottom in America now. The lowest common denominator is dictating everything from style to vernacular to music to art to poetry, science. It's all gone. Garbage. And if they can't keep up, put them into Harvard Law School. And if they don't know how to write their name, that's good. They'll be a great Supreme Court justice. Tippy and the dog. So I get bitten. The hospital. They call my father in New York. Closes the store. Comes up to the mountains. He comes up late that night. And he does. My father was a judicious type of man. Always analyzed before he did anything. So he asked questions about the dog biting me because he was going to decide whether to have the dog put down, killed, or not. So he asked me, the guy who was bitten, the kid, what happened? Oh, I don't know. Well, tell me what happened. He would make me answer. He says, don't give me a dance. No song and a dance. Answer the question. What happened when the dog bit you? What exactly were the circumstances? Like it was like the Nuremberg trial in that house. Everyone always was on trial for something, whether the food was cooked right. So, never. You went out of the house looking a certain way. You were on trial. Like, so, okay, what happened? Oh, I don't know. The dog was under the picnic table next to the house. It was a hot afternoon. And what, Michael? Well, he was eating on a bone. Yeah. And what'd you do? Well, at that, I put my foot on the bone and ground it into the earth. Case closed. Bingo, you're guilty. He's innocent. The dog lives. Goodbye. That was it. That's the way I was raised. Now you know a little bit more about me. I think I told the story once before. He wanted to know why the dog bit me. The dog didn't just jump up and bite me. He wanted to see if it was a rabid, mad dog, you know. So that's Tippy and the dog. So now these childhood books, I've done, okay. That is the end of part 1 of the Savage Rap for Friday.